This is Nancy with Fix This House, and today we're going to be making a standard regular dish detergent. Not a soap, but something you would actually use for washing your dishes in the sink. And it's what I use for cleaning up after my soap making. So it's detergent based and not necessarily soap related, but soap making. But sometimes people are looking for this, and it's hard to find the information. So the recipe I'm using comes from a small little chemistry shop in Paraguay, in Asuncion, Paraguay, called Mater Prim. And that's where I learned how to do this, by buying a kit from them. And let me tell you the ingredients that we need. I'll try writing these down below too, 4,250 grams of distilled water. I have, this is TEA, you can try pronouncing it, triethanolamine, 99%. This one came from Chemistry Connection, which is where I also got the main ingredient here, the Labsa. So the TEA, we're going to be using 125 grams of that, which I have poured out here. We're using a small amount of sodium hydroxide. This comes from Essential Depot, also known as lye, sodium hydroxide lye. For that, we are using 60 grams, which I have here. The main ingredient that you need to find is linear alkyl benzene sulfonic acid. This one's 96%. It comes from thechemistrystore.com, and I'm using 525 grams, which I have right here. So this is like a thick, it's a thick molasses-like ingredient, and that is the main ingredient that you need. That makes the detergent. So this would be a neutralizer. The lye would be a neutralizer. I think this TEA also raises or lowers the pH. And the other two ingredients that you need is a little bit more of distilled water. I believe this is 50 grams, and some, let me see, check my notes real quick. 50 grams of the water and 25 grams of Epsom salts, or magnesium sulfate. So these two are going to help with the thickening once we do all the mixing. So I hope that makes sense. Gloves, water, TEA, lye, sodium hydroxide, and Labsa, sodium alkyl benzene sulfonic acid. I'm getting the LABSA from LABSA. Okay? Wear gloves, wear protective gear, keep yourself safe. The first thing we have to do is we have all our ingredients measured out. We add the lye to the water. And my dog's barking because I'm banging on the container. All right, I got the lye in there. And I'm going to use a silicone spatula to stir it. This won't take much to mix, since it's a lot of water and only a little bit of lye. You always add lye to the water and not water to the lye. That is the rule. Alright, if you are mixing a very large batch of this, the water will heat up significantly. So you would need to add the sodium hydroxide to the water, and then mix it and let it cool off. This has barely gotten warm, and all right, we're going to move on to the next step. So you want to let that cool. Next, we're going to slowly add this Labsa, the detergent, to it. And I am going to, I'm debating whether I should use, I'm using a stick blender, but I'm debating whether I should use the stick blender or just the spoon. So we're going to try with the stick blender, and I'm going to put it on low because this is an ingredient that causes bubbles. You want to go slowly. So let's see if we can get you to look right inside here while I mix. There we go. They say this should take about 3 minutes of mixing. scrape out the container to get the rest of it all in there, and I'm going to mix some more until I'm sure that it's completely mixed in. And you can actually see like bits of it, of the brown detergent, the brown Labsa, floating around in the mixture here. Look, and it's also on my stick blender, so I'm going to scrape all this off. Alright, keep mixing. Looks like it discolored my stick blender a little bit. You see that? Where it landed on it? It's very interesting. This is a stick blender I use for soap making. Alright. See how we're doing here. Alright, so it looks really liquidy. You can kind of tell. But it will foam up if you create bubbles, which you don't want to do. I just did, but you don't want to do that. Alright, next is the TEA. That is 125, let's see if we can switch these, 125 grams of TEA, and we're going to add this with gentle agitation. Okay, and I'm going to scrape this out. Mix a little bit more, and we're almost done. Now you get my, the difficult ingredients to find are the LABSA, linear alkyl benzene sulfonic acid, and that came from the chemistry store, no, chemicalstore.com, chemical store, and I think it was probably 50 bucks or so after shipping to get a gallon of it, and I've had it for, I don't know, a few years. Year and a half at least, and I just mix up between 5 and 10 liters worth of detergent at a time and then store it. Alright, so this seems to be all mixed up. It's got bubbles in it, so it's not clear yet. I'm going to put it aside for a second. The next step is to put, this is magnesium sulfate or Epsom salts, and I have, I believe, 25 grams of this that we're going to put into 50 grams of water and try to get it to dissolve. What the Epsom salt does is it thickens the mixture. So I'm just going to try to get these to dissolve. It'll change the thin liquidy stuff. It'll actually make it into a thicker detergent, dish detergent, a higher quality. I'll call it like a premium. My phone keeps going off. Oh well. Alright, so that's not dissolved yet, but we're going to keep working on it. You can also add 1% of the total weight as fragrance and you can add coloring to it as well. I like to keep mine natural. Sometimes I add like a fragrance or like a lemon essential oil to it because that's really nice. Getting there. I still see a tiny little bit at the bottom. It's not dissolved. This Epsom salt was quite large. They were large crystals. I've also used just plain old sodium hydroxide table salt in this, preferably without the iodine added to it, but that will also work if you're in a pinch. But Epsom salt is available at your local drugstore. I think that's pretty good right there. So let's take this. It's not perfect, but for the sake of time, I think you can see this. And it's very watery, but you can tell that it bubbles up. Watch it. So it'll foam up really nicely, and you can tell that it's really detergent. So I'm going to add in this. And mix it up. And I'm going to come back later and show you what it looks like. You might have to add more Epsom salt to thicken it more according to your tastes. Well, you're not going to eat it, but according to your preferences. And just want to make sure I get all the Epsom salt mixed in. And then when it cools, it should be thicker and we will bottle it up. And there you have it. So I'll come back later. This will get transparent with a light yellow tint to it, and it'll be great for cleaning your dishes or your soap dishes or whatever you want. So, all right, be back in a little bit. Here's the detergent about 20 minutes later. You can see that it's now transparent, translucent underneath. It's not thick yet because it's still warm, maybe like 100 degrees, not very hot at all. But as it cools, it will thicken. So the chemical reaction makes it gain heat, and it's going to be beautiful. I might have to add a little bit more Epsom salt if it's not quite thick enough for me, but there you have it, and I'll be back later to show you what it looks like when it's all cooled and thick. Thanks. We're back, and it's been a few hours, and the mixture is clear and yellowish, and it's very thin. So what I'm going to do is to thicken it up. I've mixed, just as a control, 100 grams of magnesium sulfate Epsom salts in an equal amount of water. It's not completely dissolved, so I probably should use a little bit more water, but I'm going to pour off from the top into the bucket. And if you watch this, usually when you add it in where it hits, it'll start turning it white. I don't know if we're going to see that. But I'm adding in this mixture, and it will, say about half of it. And I'm going to do this slowly, and it starts to thicken up. I can already tell that it's thickened a little bit. It'll thicken up, and you keep doing that. If you do add too much of the salt, the magnesium sulfate, or even if you added too much table salt, the mixture will, they call it cut. It'll become thin all of a sudden. So you don't want to do that. And that's looking pretty good. I'm going to add a little bit more because I like my detergent very thick. Just going to mix it some more, and I'm going to come back later to show you what it looks like later after it's sat for a while. But it's already much thicker. I don't know if you can tell that. I'm thinking you can. Alright, now I'm going to come back later so you can see what it looks like. Well, it is about 4 hours, 5 hours later, and it's definitely thicker. You can see that here. And you can just continue adding a mixture of Epsom salt and water until you get it to the consistency that you like. I like mine really thick. So, and that looks like it's getting pretty good. So I almost added another, what was that, 100 grams of Epsom salt to this, and that's about the consistency that I like. So my dog is eating her food and start making a lot of noise. Sorry about that. All right, so there you have it. How to make dish detergent like you would purchase from the store, and using LABSA, sodium hydroxide, TEA, Epsom salt, and water. And that's about it. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video and found it helpful, please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. And thank you for watching.